So, I just want to give a brief introduction. So today we're going to be talking about the intersection of creatives trying to find their niche, a master of none or a master of one, how creatives can kind of navigate the industry and discover their true niche, either focusing on one essential part of being a creative or actually focusing on a lot of different aspects and kind of bringing that all together. So with that, I think we can get started with some introductions. Yeah, let's start with Aqib since you're sitting right next to me.
Hey guys, my name is Aqib. I am a photographer based in the region. I've been here, I was born and raised here. I've been doing photography for the last 10 years and I've recently started my own online publication called Rice Middle East.
Hi everyone, my name is Ahmad Makary and I'm a printmaker and I do a little bit of curatorial work and I am the founder and printmaker at the Workshop DXB. Yeah, that's me.
Hi everyone, I'm Malaika. I am a creative producer who has spent the majority of her time in publishing, and I currently work for Condé Nast Middle East. Thank you.
Hi, I am Dinika. I'm never expecting to introduce myself. I'm a multi-disciplinary artist and a producer, and I'm thrilled to be co-hosting this chat today because I think it's one that's pretty personal in more ways than one.
Fair. And I think with that we can drive in a little bit. Let's get started with Aqib. How did you get started? How did you find your specific niche? I think you've been working for about 15 years now, and you've focused and you've done some beautiful work. Give us a little insight into how you got started.
Well, I didn't have any formal training in the arts. I studied economics and photography just happened. I would spend time taking photos on the weekends with some of my friends, one of them being there, Al. And we switched our weekends from partying to then sleeping and waking up early to go shoot photographs across the country. And then there was a lot of good response from Instagram. People were like, you should do this more often. And so that's what I did. And every weekend we were shooting more and more. And over time I was like, I really like this. I'm making good money doing this. I could probably make more money doing this throughout the week than just on the weekends, so why not take a chance? So I quit my job in 2016 and then went full-time into photography. I've been doing it for a while now.
Nice. And what were your career paths that you chose before you actually ended up doing photography?
My career paths? Oh my god. So once I finished university, I was in India at the time, and then my dad has a mattress business over here. So he was like, do you wanna start my business in India? So for 4 years I was selling mattresses and pillows and wallpapers. And I think the 4th year we were doing distribution. So I set up a distribution unit all across Tamil Nadu, set up a retail unit, a couple of retail units. And then I think the 4th year I had a friend's mom come in to me and she's like, I love what you're doing with the store. I love the wallpaper selections that you've brought in. And this is very exciting. And as she was speaking to me, I zoned out and I was like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I in home furnishing? So I called up my dad. I'm like, listen, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So he's like, cool, why don't you move back to Dubai? Because they were still based here. The business was running. So he was like, we can keep that going. You can move here. So I moved here. And yeah, and then I joined a company called Transmed, which is FMCG sales and FMCG company. So it's basically anything that you see in your supermarkets. So I was in charge of Pringles and Kellogg's and Sea Blue, which is like fried shrimp from Lebanon. So I would go to different.
You had to look at you for that one.
I would go to different hypermarkets that I was assigned and speak to the managers and say, we need more shelf space for Pringles. We only have one, we need two. And so that was my life. It was pretty. It wasn't straightforward. Photography just happened. Yeah.
Fair. What about you, Ahmad Makary? Let's hear how you got into screen printing.
So I started out of what I thought at the time was a need, right? There was kind of a pain point happening in my, well, for lack of better terms, my old scene. So I come from Beirut. That's where I've spent, let's say, my adolescence years. And I was part of the punk scene and the metal scene. And every time we tried to do a gig or we tried to release an album, we kind of was trying to kind of create some merch, right? But you know, as you are when you're like 15 and 16 and all those years, you're most probably broke. So we could not afford, not one of the bands could afford to do something. So I was, you know, spending endless nights on YouTube trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way and the easiest way to create some merch? And that's when I discovered, you know, lights came down, you know, like screen printing, that's the way to go. It's DIY, it fits with the culture, it's all handmade. And so I started, you know, spending time, you know, building my own screens, building my own machine, and all of that. So I learned screen printing back in 2009, I think it was at the time. And ever since, I've been trying to just kind of work with it. And when I moved to Dubai, and that was in 2011, I had a job, and I was working with the music industry, a corporate job. I was jumping between different labels, working on the creative side, so between shooting video, you know, content for artists, between marketing artists and brand images and all that kind of stuff, soul-sucking stuff. I kind of decided that, okay, well, meanwhile, at the same time, I was kind of finishing my job and heading into my studio, which was in Sharjah at the time. And I used to go to this rooftop of a building where my friend used to live, and we squatted this telephone room. So we went there and we took this room and we started working out of it. And just slowly, well, 15 years later, it became what it is right now. We just recently, like a month ago, moved to a new studio in Al Sarkar Avenue. And for us, that's kind of a, you know, a good achievement, a good kind of like, okay, gratification that what you're doing is working. So thank God for Allah.
Shout out, okay. Is that your first physical space in Al Sarkar?
So yeah, I've been moving around between kind of squats and storage units and like kind of small little spots until now it's kind of a door where you have an actual door with a sign that says the Workshop DXB. Right. Which Aqib here, by the way, shot a great video for me to announce that we are doing. Okay. That we are doing this. Okay. Sick video. And the whole video was that we're here, and and then it says we're here finally, and just for one simple reason. Every time somebody asked me like, okay, where's the studio? Can I come by? I used to say, hey, it's in Al Quoz. And everybody would say, oh, it's in Al Sarkar Avenue. And I'm like, nope. It's in Al Quoz. Al Quoz is bigger than Al Sarkar Avenue, right? But then, finally right now I can say yes.
It is. Fair enough. You don't have to change much.
It's there.
Fair enough. But what about you, Malaika? Let's hear a little introduction. How did you get into creative production?
Well, so for me, I think it found me. I don't think I planned to do this. I have no formal training in creativity of any form. I actually went to a liberal arts university, and I have a focus in media studies and business studies, but the lens that I studied it through was very sociological and very anthropological. So like the way that I looked at it was very different and was very academic in the way that I viewed these industries that are technically quite, well, corporate. And funny enough, I have found myself in a corporate environment doing it. So I think it was just a very chance moment as well. I was just in the right place at the right time, and I got an internship at GQ Middle East in their first year of operation in the region under the licensing market. And so for me, it just was, so much of it was just being in the right space, having the right conversations, and then I got to learn from really cool people. And I was a really young, brown girl in a very big room with lots of people who had been there for so long, and they had all of this experience, and they just were interested to teach me or let me learn from them more than anything. I don't think they wanted to teach me. They were just like, yeah, she's here, she wants to ask questions, why not, let's go ahead. So it was just a really, I tried to look at it as, in a sense that I just really tried to galvanize on the situation the best that I could. And so I stayed in it, and I was just I was just able to spend the time with these people, and then they saw talent, whether it was talent or just an eagerness. I have no idea, but like there was something there that they were willing to invest in, which I'm always grateful for. And so I just spent more time growing. And when you're in that kind of smaller team zone, they're almost willing to, well, I don't know if they were willing to educate, but rather it was also for them, they had a free hand who was an intern, and she was willing to do all of this extra work at no cost.
You were trying to impress.
It was probably that.
It was probably that. But also, I mean, in so many ways, it was everything that I dreamed of being, because I never thought I would get into this, right? It was just something that I got to be in these rooms and get to learn about fashion, and it was so entertaining, and in so many ways it was like a dream TV show, but I was living it, and I was like 21 at the time. So it was just something that found me, and I will always say this, that it found me, and I had, well, I guess the transferable skills from being in academia and having done research and published my own articles, and I was able to look at journalism the same way and fashion journalism in the same way, with like a certain kind of responsibility, because a lot of social anthropology looks at it the same way. You're doing research, or you're looking at the society or a community with a lot of responsibility, and that was something that I really came with. And although we're talking about something that can be quite frivolous, it was really with the responsibility to educate, and I think that's kind of something that like stuck with me. So I kind of spent time there, I grew, and I just learned. That was the most important thing. And I started as a producer at a very young age, managing an entire brand for too long that did not need to be managed by me. But it was something that really pushed me into be very responsible very fast, because I was working with money that was like unimaginable. Like it was just, they were just like, it was big budgets, and they were like, you have so much to execute. And it was kind of like Monopoly money, and I was getting to do all of this really cool stuff. It was just in very weird ways. So it was just super fun. And then I got to learn from everybody, and I got to like really, it was kind of a playground, because everybody was really young. The brand was so young, and we got to really play around, because we had all these creatives who had been in the industry for such a long time, and they had all of this experience, so they were just trying to play around, and GQ was a new brand, so we got to have fun with it. But then I left and I went freelance for a bit, and I got to really challenge the way that I looked at production. And from there I got to learn from different people that were from different industries, and look at it from a different lens, not just from a publishing lens. But I came back to publishing because the right role came in. But I also got to work with brands that were not fashion-led, that were like kind of travel-led or like interior-led. So it challenged the way that I looked at content. And it was the way that, it challenged the way that I looked at things from a creative lens, not because it was something that I was super keen on, but rather out of necessity. And it just became something that I became more interested in, because from a production lens, you can sometimes say, oh, that's not going to work really. So you can make a new creative suggestion and look at things in a different way. So that's kind of how I got into it. And now I work at Condé Nast, and it's super cool because I get to work for all of these brands that I have been reading and looking at for so many years. So yeah, that's what I do now.
Fair, and I always hear stories. You're always all over the world, and at the most beautiful places, by the way. So you're living the dream.
I mean, I think a lot of people say that, and it is. I'm super grateful. I could never have believed that this would be my life, and I think everyone that I've meet more from like my university or whatever, we're all like, I don't think this was what we thought you would do, and it's like, yeah, well, here we are.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. What's been so curious to hear is how, for each of you, where you started versus where you're at now, kind of worlds apart, but not really. Aqib, you mentioned having this like light dawning on you moment where you're like, what am I doing with my life? You know, Ahmed, you said like the light came down and you were like, screen printing is the way, production found you. I'm curious to know about like, how did you make that leap? It's it's a very significant leap to say, okay, cool, the light has found me. I'm doing this now. I have these bills to pay, or I'm in this circumstance in life. What was that moment for you like, and how did you go about making that decision to position yourself to be doing what you're doing now?
I think for me, it was a lot to do with timing. 2014 to 2016, Instagram was still at its very nascent stage. So it was a time when there was an appreciation for photography and a different kind of photography that you see from Dubai. Because back when I started, the only kind of photography that was coming out of Dubai was supercars, skyscrapers, Russian models in front of JBR, and that was Dubai, right? But I was consuming content from around the world, which I was interested in, and I saw that there's this is what I like to, this is what I would love to shoot, but there isn't a space for this in the region. But then I remember thinking to myself, if I appreciate this kind of content, which is a bit more real and raw, I'm sure there are other people like me in the region. So let's give it a shot. So that's why I tried. That's why I went ahead with it. And then when it came to taking the leap to quitting my job and giving this a shot, obviously I had the privilege at the time of living with my parents still. So I told them, this is what I want to do. And Indian parents, they're like, why would you do this? Photography as a hobby. Like, do it on the weekends. Don't give up your job that's giving you insurance, that's giving you a housing allowance, and all of these things that you're going to give up on. And I said, like, there's so many things that I've wanted to try in life that I always said is not for me. Because being a brown kid, you're always like, okay, this is the old adage that goes, you're either a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, or a failure. So we were like, we were never.
That's exactly what I always say. So you got it word for word, bro. But go ahead.
Because we didn't have role models that made it in the creative industry. We didn't see a photographer or someone that was doing some cool stuff and then was actually being able to sustain it and then make a living out of it, make a life out of it. But again, I speak about timing because I knew that there was a niche, there was a market that was building for visual language on your smartphone. And I understood that brands want this because of my business background, because of my FMCG marketing background. I knew that this was something this is where the eyeballs are at. Back in 2016, I was like, if I focus on this, I could work with a lot of brands. So yeah, the privilege of living with my family, the privilege of having some savings from my corporate job, and then just being like, I was 26 at the time, so I was like, if I don't do this, if I don't take one risk in my life, then I'll never forgive myself. Remember, if I was a 40-year-old, like in a corporate environment working, I would not be happy. So I was like, you know what? Let's try this.
No shade to the corporate hands in the room.
Oh, sorry. No, it's just how I felt because after university I had my dad's business for 4 years. I was still the master of my time. And then when I did those 2 years at Transmed, I was not the master of my time. So when I wanted to travel, I had to get permission from my manager, and I was like, ew. I was like, what is that? And I love the weather. So when it's nice, I want to be out. And then you're still in this sterile environment, white lights, whether it's summer, whether it's winter, whether it's raining, whether it's foggy. I was like, I don't want to do that for my whole life. So these are the things that led me to.
So the decision kind of made itself at that point.
The decision festered for a year and a half. And then I was like, okay, take a chance. And then if it doesn't work out, I have my economics degree. I have things that I can do. So yeah, it was liberating for sure. I'm glad I took it.
Ahmed, what about you?
I don't know what actually triggered it.
Yeah.
I don't know what actually triggered me moving into it, and I always thought that the reason why I came to Dubai was, okay, like, I just graduated university in Lebanon. I had too many ambitions, too many dreams. I wanted to achieve stuff that I didn't think were possible in Lebanon at the time.
So when I moved here, the only way to do that was to join corporate. But at the same time, it was kind of like always in the back of my mind that I want to do my own thing and I just don't want to join. And lucky for me and kind of the opposite of you, I had both artist parents that were really supportive of everything to a certain point where I started asking for a little bit of pushback, you know, because everything I said, they were like, yeah, go for it. I'm like, yo, but it's gonna be probably bad, you know, they're like, no, go for it.
Wow.
So I'm lucky in that sense where they were like, go and like just be and do whatever you want.
What's that like?
Yo, it's good and bad, you know what I mean? It's good because, yes, okay, appreciate it, I can be creative, but it's bad because sometimes I don't know what the other side is, so I couldn't really gauge, and I thought creativity or the way to do creative stuff was the only and the best way, and I'm gonna live the best life, and you know, this white hair didn't come from nowhere, you know what I mean? I'm actually very young. But, you know.
What do you think about it now, after living the creative stuff?
Well, right now I can say that I'm actually kind of, okay, it's starting to work good. But to be honest, I never regretted it. Like once I was lucky to work in corporate, but I was lucky to work in corporate within my kind of field or what I wanted to do, which is creative industry and in images and visuals and concepts and stuff like that. So that was always a blessing, you know. But working in corporate made me notice and pretty fast that my initial thoughts were actually correct, that I need to go on my own and I want to do whatever I'm doing but for myself and not for deaf ears. So everything I've done in corporate was great. It helped me reach where I am right now. It helped me move into becoming a little bit more of a thinker, more of a like try to push boundaries, right? And luckily I did that, and then at the same time I've always been doing this, and I had a couple of friends, I mean, I'm lucky to have them as well because they were always also on the DIY side trying to push within their own fields. So one of them moved to Africa and opened an eco-village, and one of them is trying to move back to Lebanon to open a farm. And this whole DIY kind of activity or approach to life was something very interesting, very rewarding. Yeah. So I decided to go and just do this. The kind of the last notch and what made me actually jump into it full time was COVID. And COVID was a blessing to me personally. It helped me realize. Yeah, shout out COVID for but but during COVID, sitting at home, just breaking my back on a computer, just like doing the stuff online and like videos and all of that, made me realize very quick that this is not fun and that's not what I actually want to do. And straight away I was like, okay, I quit straight away. Well, I left Dubai in the process. I was like, okay, I don't like Dubai as well, so I left Dubai. And then I realized that no, I actually love Dubai, so I came back, and and yeah, it's now I'm doing this full time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Malaika?
What about you?
Thank you.
Oh, panel talks is my thing.
So for me, I must admit, I have been very privileged. When I got my internship at GQ, actually, let's even go back to like me going to go study liberal arts at university. I think I credit my parents a lot. Like they encouraged it. They really were like, yeah, if this is what you want to do, go do it. And there was no pushback because like a lot of families expected their kids to go study a business degree or like lawyers, doctors, and full respect to that. That's what they know, right? But my parents were very chill. I mean, not chill. I mean, I don't know if they were chill, but they were very encouraging, to be fair. And even when the opportunity to like go to GQ came along, my mom was like, okay, enjoy it. And my mom's right here, by the way. So she was like, she really said like, enjoy it, go have fun. And I wasn't paid a lot, to be fair. Like as an intern, you really don't get paid. I mean, that's general across Dubai, but it wasn't a lot. My parents were working. I was living with them, and they were super encouraging about it. And they said, just if it feels right, just stay with it. And that's probably been the biggest blessing of my life. And even when I went freelance as well, they were super supportive of it. They said that if this feels right for you, then you should do it. And whatever projects I took, they encouraged it, no matter how busy I was or it just seemed kind of outlandish. They didn't understand it. I still don't know if they understand it, but they encouraged it the best that I could. And for me, I think I will always credit them for that. The opportunity to stick with this and stay with it and do as much as I wanted with it really, really came from them. And I am a corporate hun, so I think I really thrived in it. I think everybody across the board can acknowledge that corporate lifestyle, like a corporate lifestyle, teaches you a lot in terms of like goal setting and like also creating KPIs for yourself. But it's something that I really thrive in, and I really enjoy working within a structure. And I think maybe this traces back to like going to an Indian school, going to a university in India, maybe studying, spending so much time in academia, were all things that kind of led to this.
Yeah.
So I think I have the best of both worlds, which I really enjoy. So I'm not going to complain. But yeah, that's how I stuck with it.
Fair. Something that I want to tap into, because all of you guys kind of did work in a corporation to a certain extent and then transferred to being a creative. You're still working in a corporation but still focusing on creative aspects of the industry. How have you seen these skills transfer from corporations to being a creative, and do you think it's beneficial for creatives to actually have some type of corporate backing before approaching clients as a creative? Yeah.
I think definitely. I think my background in with the business and the corporate industry really helped me. It helped me understand the business side of things. You know, so when a lot of artists, the problem that they face is not being able to price their art or to command their value. And a lot of times the artists are like, I don't like that stuff. I don't like the admin. I don't like the emails. I love creating like invoices and tracking like where my money went and like how much money came in.
Do you have a really nice template?
Yeah, I made it myself. I was like, just
Beautiful.
year by year, month by month, which client, how much money, so you can.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, YTD plus 20%. You need to learn this. Like this is what I learned from Transmed, doing a lot of Excel sheets. So these things help for sure because. I think, as you heard Malaika say, she was astounded by how much money there is in media, right? She was like, what are these budgets? But a lot of artists don't know this. They're like, oh, I'm good at this. Do you want? And they'll be like, okay, 1,000 dirhams. And you're like, yay. You know, you think that's great because that's like a tenth of your actual salary that you made through your creativity. But the brands are paying like 50,000 for what you just made. So it's important, and that's like one of my, let's say, missions in life. Now that I've done this for 10 years, I don't want artists to. The struggling artist concept is stupid. Why should artists struggle? Why do we have to like go through this thing and when the money is there? So that aspect of the corporate world really taught me about how to be professional, how to send your emails, how to stand your ground, how to be like, okay, if this is not done, then you're not getting my work, you know? So yeah, it definitely helped.
No, I think what you said is like extremely valuable over here, because like I feel like a lot of times when like creatives go and study like or go to university courses, whatever they do, they're always taught how to be good at what they do, how to be good at being a creative. But once you enter the real world, there's all of these other aspects that need to tie in order to be able to package yourself properly to a corporation in order to acquire jobs that are actually going to pay you your bills. And this is the part that I feel like a lot of like institutions kind of lack to a certain extent or don't focus on as much. But I really love what you said. I think that's super valuable. What about you, Ahmad?
I think there's definitely a lot of transferable kind of teachings from the corporate world, for sure. I owe a lot of my knowledge right now into that. I was lucky to have a couple of good managers that led along the way and that taught me different things. I mean, I still do all my kind of paperwork on like Illustrator because I'm a designer, so I do my invoices on Illustrator. I don't know how to use Excel. I don't know how to use everything
you have to pay
else.
a crazy subscription for Microsoft Excel now. That's
yeah, bro, all this like Zoho books and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how that works, but it's cool. It makes them look good at least. You know what I mean? Like give them a flair. But I learned a lot, and to be honest, I got to travel a lot. I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to learn from different people along the way. So for that, I'm forever grateful. It is what it is. You know, it happened. It's an experience that I gained. Nothing lost out of it. Yeah.
Transferable skills from corporations to being creative. Yeah.
So it was an easy it was an easy transfer. In that sense.
You're good.
No, right now though, I find myself doing a lot of the corporate stuff that I was really hating on before. I find myself doing them where, okay, I'm invoicing, I'm trying to do my audits, I'm trying to register my company, doing visas and all of that stuff. Things that you don't necessarily expect that you'll be doing once you sign up for the dream that you're going to be a creative doing your own thing, but hey, it's there and you have to do it. And as creatives, the number one thing that you need to do is kind of accept the fact that you have to be a master in all of those fields and not just the creative, otherwise you're going to suffer. So to that point, I kind of understood that, and I left and I went and I did my master's program in business just to learn those tricks. You know, I come from a visual design background, so I learned graphic design when I'm in school, and I was very creative to a certain level where I didn't know how to do any of that. So after COVID, thank you COVID, I realized that I need to learn the business side of it. So I went and I did my master's purely in trying to cover that side of it. And right now I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and hopefully together they form something complete that could potentially be presented. Yeah.
What about you, Malaika?
For me, I think in transferable skills, I think I've stayed in corporate for majority of my career. So for me,
so I think for you the question should be framed a little bit differently.
Different, yeah.
How do you kind of use your creative background and kind of complement your corporate job
and your
right
academic background, right?
I think
Sorry?
for me,
Your academic background.
Academic.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
you're
the
creative,
academic
I feel
background
you're
and
creative.
kind of the research element of being a producer kind of was transferable, and that's kind of what it is. For me, the challenge is being creative, I think, and that's a great question. So
Thank you, Dinika.
No
Heard?
shame, she really tried.
You're so welcome.
No. But I think for me, in terms of I had to learn how to be creative, right? Was asking the right questions in a different way or phrasing the way that I looked at it in a different sense. But my production background really assisted in the way that I looked at a creative or how I ideated. I also had really wonderful people who were very experienced, and they'd been doing this for decades. So I got to they never said no to any stupid question that I asked in the way that I wanted to frame it. And so for me, if you ask me, I think it's important. I know the question is, are you a master of one or a master of none? So for me, I think it's important to become a master of one before you can add on to it. And I think I became really good at production. I could do it in my sleep to a certain extent. Give me a...
Is it okay? Yeah. Just because I had a thought, I'm since you are coming from a corporate background and working for GQ magazine, Condé Nast Middle East, of course, what do you look for when you work with creatives in the field? What are green flags and red flags? Let's hear that.
That's a great question. Honestly, for me, I look at attitude. That's my biggest thing. I would prefer someone who came with a great attitude and an interesting point of view. Those are the two things that I look at. Your skill set could always develop, and that's natural. Everyone's constantly learning, and creatives are constantly developing. That's the whole point of creativity. You're supposed to challenge each other. But I think when I'm putting together a team for a creative, you could have a specific lens, and that's great, and you could be excellent at what you do. But if you're not a great person to work with, you're going to change the entire dynamic of who's going to work with you. So for me, and I think a lot of the rooms that I've been in, it's been really important for me to first get a person who has a great attitude and is willing to work with multiple people and be collaborative. And then another has been actually to fill the room with people of color as much as I possibly can. There are sometimes you'll have an expert, and the leading expert is probably not a person of color, and that's fine. But for us, and in every team that I have been in, my prerogative has always been, has to be a person of color, has to be giving an opportunity, has to be a person with a great attitude. and has to come with an interesting point of view. So those are things that I'm looking for. You could have you may not necessarily know how to speak to a corporation. That's easy. I'm happy to educate you and tell you this is what you should be asking. But that's because I could easily have been on the other side of this conversation. So I think it's important to educate, specifically when you're on the corporate side and you're on the client side. I think was an anomaly, maybe not anomaly, but rather it was not common to see brown people in the room. But now, as I've grown older, there's more, and I'm very, very grateful to see more and more people there. But it's important to also give opportunities. So, any opportunity that I can give, I try and do that. So, roundabout question.
I want to add on to that, if I may.
Of course.
Please, yeah.
With you said talent your skill sets can always be improved over time. I think I think artists need to have to be given a little room for growth, even in the attitude sector. And I say this from personal experience. I think when I started out 2017, 18, 19, things were going really good, and I was like, oh, I'm this photographer, I'm Gibbs to G, I need to, you want to work with me? My attitude wasn't great. When you are a creative and you get a bit of fame or clout, it can, especially when you're young, it can and will get to your head. Mm-hmm. You walk around with this aura, you think you're the shit, but one thing that I would say is that can grow. Yeah. So if you worked with an artist, let's say from a producer's perspective, if you worked with an artist, let's say 5 years ago, and they were younger, and you're like, oh, this guy's attitude sucks, I would say give them another chance, because it can grow as you get older. And secondly, to creatives, you must, I think one of the most important skill sets that I've learned over, let's say, after 8 years of doing this, is yes, you have to be professional, you have to be very skilled at what you do, but most importantly, you have to maintain good relationships with these people. They have to like you. If the person hiring you for this job does not like you, you're not going to get the job. Doesn't matter how great you are. You might be the best photographer in the country, but if there's the fifth best photographer in the country, that's subjective, but if the producers of those companies love working with this person and they made their life easier, they're always going to go for that person. So 8 years in, I was like, okay, shit, I need to recalibrate. It's not, this is me, this is who this is the work that I do, everyone must want to work with me, but rather let me nurture these relationships, let me prove to them that yes, with my work, but also with my professionalism, with the way I show up and all of those things.
Sorry to add as well. Sorry. But I think it's also important to do a peer review. You could work with somebody and you might have a shit experience, and that's so normal. But I think it's always important to go and ask maybe another person.
You're saying normalize.
Oh no, it's not. Continue. Go ahead. Is it working?
Is it working?
It's on red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just switch mics. It's fine.
Can we switch quick? No.
Make your point. Thank you.
Can you pass me that mic? Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue what you're saying.
So
sorry.
for me, I think as producers and the network of producers that I've worked with, it's always important to keep asking questions. What was your experience? I may have had a really bad experience, but I'm always intrigued to see how another person has had the same experience. Mm-hmm. And I encourage peer reviews always. Ask people what they thought about them. What did they do really well? What did they not do really well? And I think, like you said, because it's about your personality as well and how likable you are, you could also no matter how skilled you are, like you said, if you were rude to somebody, I don't want you on my set. Really, quite frankly, if you're, I take note of the people who and how they speak to their photo assistants, how they speak to the styling assistants, how do they speak to the hair and makeup team, because these are all people who make things happen, and so it's important to have a really good synergy on set, and treat everybody with respect. Mm. So if somebody on set says oh, this photographer was really nice to you, but he was not very nice to me, I'm not likely to hire you another time, just because to be fair, I don't want to foster a negative environment. Really a fantastic creative product is like byproduct of really incredible synergy from all these creatives who have come together and contributed. So I think if you are going to come in and foster negative energy, it's not something that I would like to experience another time, because it's going to end like with a bad byproduct, which is not something that anybody wants. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Thank you. What I wanted to tie together with this was that, we've spoken about the transferable skills, and before this turns into a chat of like corporate versus creative, or does one necessarily have to do corporate before creative, the overarching theme I'm picking up is you've each had to go through a process of like self-awareness, like is corporate for you or not, and to what extent and what form of it. Is it a corporate creative hybrid model? And these are all just functions of the questions you ask yourself as well, like what kind of hat do I want to wear? How many hats do I want to wear? And do I want to wear them all at once? Do I want to wear one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday? And so my question to you each is then, how do you grapple with knowing yourself as a continuous project to answer the question of what am I? What do I want to be? In an era where it's like, if you're not a creative, you might as well evaporate now.
I think there's a lot of there's
That's a beautiful
I'm getting
way to
deep
frame that
question.
question. But okay.
Did I deep it? Sorry.
No, that's a very, very good and valid question. I think
It's valid. I promise.
I think there's as a creative and running your own, if your creative business is your sole source of income, you're always trying to figure out the market. You're trying to figure out how things work. I'll give you an example. Like, things were going great for me, for example, for everyone, and then COVID happened, right? It just put a wedge in all the levers, and after that things got better again. Then the war in Palestine happened, the genocide in Palestine happened, prior to which the Russian war happened, and that caused an influx of Russians to flood Dubai, and along with that came a lot of photographers and videographers who have insane equipment, and were, for some reason, they followed the Uber market. Like, okay, we're gonna offer you really good work for very cheap prices. And so all of a sudden, here was me established 6 years, 7 years in the industry, and now I'm like, why am I competing with these prices? So it's you're always navigating the markets. You're always navigating how things. You have to keep adapting. You have to keep growing, because if you don't, you will evaporate.
I don't know. For me, it's a matter of I can't answer it from that direction, because for me, artistry and creativity also ties very well to non-conformity. So a lot of artists end up conforming to whatever the scene is happening or whatever the clients are asking for, and in that kind of sense, it puts a lot of limits on the creative process and limits growth, right? So you can't really grow. So for me, what I noticed is kind of the best thing that I was able to do was being malleable, being agile, being fast on my feet, and being able to jump. Like, whenever something is not working, I take it very proudly. I was like, okay, that failed, let's move to something else. So for me, being malleable is kind of very important. Being non-conformist is also very important for any creative. Whether you're in a corporate or whether you're doing it by yourself. You need to non-conform to what the typical is. Otherwise, you can't push forward. You can't break boundaries. You can't do new stuff, and you're just being, let's say, you're responsible for repetition. You're responsible for a lot of concepts being repeated and repeated and repeated, and makes the whole kind of creative ecosphere a little bit boring.
Could I just pause and touch on if you have any tips on how to fail without loss of steam?
That's an art form by itself. No, but losing without losing your steam is kind of realizing that Well, first of all, accepting that you are in a space where you're no one. You're just a person that you're trying to be creative, and it doesn't make you a legend, artist stature where if you fail, it's gonna matter for a lot of people. No, it doesn't matter. If you fail, you fail. People
So
will,
staying humble.
especially in the UAE, yeah. People will forget about it next week, especially in Dubai. Like, people will not know who I am tomorrow. And it's fine.
Okay, so that's liberating.
That's super liberating, that's super freeing, because I can fail and I can repeat and I can change and I can live on.
Ahmed, I have a point about the non-conformity. While I do appreciate it, and that's how I looked at the art form for the longest time, there was a conversation that a friend of mine was having when we were in Saudi, and he was talking to his friend who was about to release his first feature film. And he had promised himself, he was like, at the age of 40, I'm going to release my first feature film. And at the age of 40, his first feature film was about to come out. And this is a very famous film now after it came out. But they were speaking in Arabic, and I was like, can you guys switch to English? Because this seems interesting. I was waiting for my Uber to leave, but I was like, I want to understand what you guys are speaking about. They're like, of course. And this guy was telling my friend, like, being anti-authoritarian is beneficial only up to a certain degree, but after that it limits you. It can be detrimental to you, and that really opened my eyes to, I was like, holy shit, you know, we as artists, we try to be cool. You're like, yeah, we're not going to sell out, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. But what he said really like resonated. I was like, okay, if you can have your ethics and morals about how you want to do things, but sometimes, like, it's also okay to, I wouldn't say conform, but also just play the game, because the game is there to be played. If you don't play it, somebody else is going to play it and then win. So yeah, so that was something that really like changed my life.
100%. Like, playing the game is a big part of it. Yes, play the game and play it hard, but play it without the limitations that are set not by you. It's just like, these are limitations that are set by someone that doesn't know how to break those limitations, and you never know what's beyond them. Once you cross them, you will realize you either stepped far or you're still in a good space. And that's kind of, well, at least kind of the theory that I would try to do. But let's not forget that I still need to pay bills, I still need to do a lot of stuff, so I do end up a lot of time conforming. But at the back of my mind is, okay, how can we push further? How can we cross that threshold?
So it's like being on it, but don't let it be on you.
Exactly.
I love that. Could be a nice tattoo.
That's your next tattoo. After. Yes, I'll write it for you. Yeah. Malaika, what about you?
Thank you. I think sorry, I forgot your question.
So it's about navigating the questions you ask yourself in an era where if you're not creative, are you?
I think for me, I had to learn to be creative, right? Like, it was something that I had an inkling towards, but didn't necessarily, it had to be fostered. So I think for a lot of creatives, I think the biggest thing is releasing your self-worth from the end product. That's the biggest lesson you're ever going to learn. And so because I was a producer for the longest time, there was only so much I could control. Like, I think production, a lot of it is just like putting the right pieces together, and if they fall, they fall. If it doesn't, and then the end product is going to be impacted by that. So I think for me, it was a lesson that I learned very early on, because sometimes things would not go to plan, and it was 99% of the time. So when it did, and the end product came out, it would be a version of good, but it would not be my idealized version of good, right? So I had to release my self-worth from that end product really early on. Like, and it's something that when I started exploring my creativity or learning how to pitch ideas or come up with ideas, that was all something that I was able to do without having my ego part of it. And it was really a great lesson to learn very early on and now become more of a creative producer that I'm confident to call myself one. It was really a lesson that really helped me be able to separate myself from it and be like, conform to certain things, but also be okay and recognize which kind of room you can challenge the client or challenge and push the narrative a little bit but it's also recognizing that it has to be small miniature steps before it can be these big strides. Some people are going to be really adventurous and some clients are really adventurous, but not all the time, and that's okay. And sometimes you just have to do that, but it's not because every work of art that I'm doing is going to be a Mona Lisa. It's just going to be, sometimes it is what it is, and you got to be okay with it. And I think a lot of young creatives fall into this pitfall of like, this end product is like going to mean like my entire self-worth, and it's not. You're gonna do a new project, you're gonna do something new, and you're gonna make the same thing sometimes 5 times over, and that's okay. And you have to be okay with repetition, and be okay with, like, it's like being like an athlete. You're good because of repetitiveness, because
it's like
of
a next play mentality.
Yes, a next play mentality. You kind of need to just keep, and that's the whole point of creativity. Keep pushing the boundary and keep trying and keep honing your craft, and then eventually something will be amazing. And we are all, I think, as human beings, constantly pushing to achieve that one amazing thing, and like you're chasing that high of it. And so acknowledge that that is the process, and but separate yourself from it. And when it does happen, it's serendipitous and it's wonderful. Bathe in it, move on.
Cry a little,
move on. But move on and try the next one, because you're going to have to push the boundary again.
Well, guys, you heard it here first. If you're a creative, you're also considered an athlete. Acceptance of working out your body, working out your brain. Yeah. There you go. But something that I kind of like picked up, because like the overarching conversation is master of one or master of none. Can you truly be a master of one anymore in this day and age?
You can master your craft for sure. But you don't have to be boxed in as whatever that you're supposed to be. For sure, you can be. I think you can be a master of a few things, but then the question arises: is your attention diluted? Are you giving the best? So, an example that I can take is when I started, I used to do a lot of photo and video. And then once reels started happening, everyone started doing video. Everyone, your mom, your dog, everyone, like, and so then I took a step back. I was like, let me observe, and I got it from my nephew. When he was born, he didn't speak until he was 3 years old, and everyone was like, what the hell is going on? And then I think when he, at a certain age, he just started speaking. He was just like, boom. And then so they said he was just observing until he was confident enough to speak. So I feel like, so when that happened, I was like, okay, I'm just going to observe where this reels and TikTok nonsense goes and settles down, because there was a lot of nonsense for the last 3 years, like slop and like everything has to be a hook. Hey, let me tell you about how we're there. And like it's just so annoying. I'm like, yeah, it's all about like the hook and what you have to do, and like, let me tell you why. The next thing, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play this game. I don't want to be this guy who's like, here's how I take my photos at sunset. I don't want to do that. So I forgot my train of thought.
It was a great start, though. I love this.
Wait, what are we talking about? Exactly. So when that observation happened, I was like, okay, I don't want to be a master of reels, because everyone's doing video. Let me master photography, because there's still billboards that have to go up. There's still in-store activations and in-store and metros and all of these things, and still photography still has a space in this world. As much as Instagram was like, we're no longer a photo company, we're going to be like video focused. That's why I was like, okay, I don't want to be a master of these two things. When let me just be a master of photography. And that made a huge I think that in the industry, it did help me, because like, okay, Gibbs is good at photography, and so in that sense, being a master of one helped me stand out over all the noise that was happening. because there's also a lot of people then saying, no, you need to do reels, you need to do whatever. So people started diluting their focus into trying to master hooks and master attention and master 15, 20-second videos. So that was the long answer. Short answer is it helps to be a master of one, but then you also should have subsidiary talents that complement it.
But then, like, indulging in the TikToks and the reels is also essentially playing the game, right? That's the game that's
for sure.
Being played right now.
For sure,
so
for sure.
when are we gonna see a reel of you starting?
Just me dancing.
How do we photograph on something?
I need to see a jump in, into frame.
No, I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, that is also... it boils down to a few things. When I see the masses do something, I don't want to do it. You know, when someone's when everyone's wearing one shoe, I do not want that shoe. When everyone's wearing one watch, I do not want that watch. So when everyone is doing videos, like, I don't want to do this. But good point, yeah. So now it's about, okay, I've observed, and also that whirlpool of slop is kind of getting to a place where people like, you kind of know what you want to watch and what you don't want to watch. So I think now I'm 3 years old and I'm ready to speak, you know, with video.
Fair. What about you, Ahmed? What's your thoughts?
I think that's actually a valid point at the end, because I mean, somehow it ties back to conforming to whatever is happening now, whatever is trending now, and like, okay, like, I just don't want to do that. If it's trending, I want to kind of stay away from it, either push forward or do something completely different. Now for me, I think I just don't want to say that I'm a master of one or a master of none, because at the end of the day, all I kind of aspire to be is a master of many and a master of everything that happens around it, right? And those things that I'm a master of are things that I don't necessarily know what they are right now, but things that I am mentally and psychologically open to kind of learning in the future. I am very bad at photography. Like, very, very bad. But I never say that I cannot be a photographer, because, hey, you never know. Maybe in a couple of years from now, it's going to become my next best thing. I'm going to be a photographer and I'm going to be competing with him. We don't know. You know, but
I'm opening my screen printing shop.
You know what I mean? Like, it's that, right? Now, to that point, even though I have mastered a medium, I have mastered a technique, I have mastered, okay, like, screen printing happens like that. I still don't call myself a master of it, because I've been doing it for 15 years plus, and I still every day do mistakes, and it's something that you learn. It's a craft, right? And I just strive to be the best at it. I strive to learn more out of it. I strive to push it to its limits and experiment and all of that. So yes, I don't like to, and also like the conformity thing. Like, I just don't want to conform to what a master is. I just want to keep open and learning new things and accepting that I'm open to these things. Yeah.
What about you, Malaika? Thoughts?
For me, I think it's important to become a master of one first, and then be able to develop more skill sets, right? But like, I think everyone has kind of agreed on this. It is not from a conformist perception or anything like that, or like perspective, but I think I can always tell when someone has their fingers in too many pies. Like, you can always tell, because they're not focused and they don't know what they're talking about. And sometimes when they come to a project with this, like, kind of, well, to be fair, a bit of a scattered brain, you can really tell that they're not present. And so, but I also don't blame them, because I feel like, well, not to, as a corporate girl, say this, but capitalism has really made us feel like we need to be doing 50 things at one go, because that's the only way that we think we're going to be successful. And I mean, I have been in really great rooms because people have encouraged me to focus on something and stick with it. But I can also acknowledge that comes with a lot of privilege. So I really think it's really important that specifically young creatives spend time honing their craft, spend time learning, and spend time becoming really great at what you do. It's okay to pivot. There's nothing wrong with it. But also, when you are learning about or like trying to develop more skill sets, don't abandon the skill set that you have. It can add to something. It can pay it forward in some way or form. You never know. I mean, I think being a photographer kind of like adds into being a videographer sometimes, because you understand framing, you understand lighting. It's still transferable skill sets. So I think being able to do one thing and then adding to it is really important. I think some of the best photographers I've ever met are also historically been creative directors, because they spend time putting together the right team, and they understand what they need, but they've had to learn how to become a photographer. So these are things that, like, I really think everything, you can become a jack of all trades, but really it's important to first become a master of one.
What's your thoughts, Dinika?
Why, thank you for asking, Faisal. I actually wanted to offer some thought on this. And what's been interesting to hear this entire chat is that we tend to frame this conversation around medium or professional title or actual job. And I can speak from personal experience that one of the most liberating experiences in the last few years has been to radically rethink how I've been raised to think about what work should look like. How to think about that question, what will you be when you grow up? Right? It is so deeply wired into us that we have the imagination that I must be XYZ, and typically XYZ is a profession of sorts. And our environments shape that, right? In so many different ways. But yes, capitalism asks us to monetize every hobby we've ever had, and still hold down a 9 to 5. But what if you are a multifaceted individual with multiple skill sets? There's another kind of existential crisis there that can happen if you're asked to fit one job title. So the way I've detached from that has been to think of being a master of, at least my framing of work is, it's more conceptual rather. I'm interested, and I take comfort from the late David Lynch, who just passed, the late great David Lynch, filmmaker who started out as a painter. And he is quite famous for saying that he is not loyal to any specific medium, rather he is loyal to the idea. And he follows the idea to its physical outcome. And as a creative person, who by the way has a background in fintech, that is the most liberating feeling, because it gives us the ultimate license to create, knowing that I'm not scatterbrained, so to speak, but although I worried for a long time that I was, you know, and that's because I think the framing had to switch. So by reframing it to a more conceptual level, being a master of one, I fully agree with in terms of paying attention to the thing you're in right now. Give it its full attention, lock in, learn the soft skills, learn the hard skills, but know that that too can become another thing, you know, because the vision is bigger. The vision is bigger than a single medium, and that's my thought.
So in order to truly become a master of one, you have to kind of be a master of none. Because you gotta learn different perspectives. If you wanna be a great photographer, you need to understand maybe your niche is interior photography. You need to understand interior design. If you're shooting, I don't know, models, you need to be great at understanding people, right? If you're gonna do portraits, you need to be able to communicate. And so in an essence is the more diverse your skill sets are, the more perspectives you get in order to be great at what your niche is. So I don't know what the conclusion of this conversation is.
But then also then you still tie it back to what's your vision for yourself, right? It's you know.
What?
What do you think about it, Faisal?
Yeah, that was what I thought. There you go. But yeah.
So what I would say about that is that, yes, we as creatives don't have to kind of limit ourselves into this is what our tool is, this is what our medium is, this is what our creative journey is. Let's keep it open and let's keep on, working with it until we pass away and it's done. You know what I mean? You've achieved your creativity. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Actually, to tie that in, I don't think a master of one means that you shouldn't lack ambition. Have the ambition, challenge your ambition, keep pushing the boundary, whatever it is, and you can keep growing. And I think, I agree, we are multifaceted individuals by nature. We want to try different things, but also focusing on one thing, and like you said, you can lock in, but eventually, that should not deter you from your ambition of trying different things. Like, please push the boundary. It's really important that you do.
Fair, and I wish we had more time to keep this conversation going because it's super, super insightful. Thank you guys so much. But before we leave, I think if you guys had to give a word of advice to any up-and-coming creatives.
I always think people who draw from their worldview is really great. Like, I think we are a diverse group of people. Specifically here, we are a diverse group of people. It is a melting pot, and everybody comes from a... Like, no two stories are the same, although, like, we could have overarching themes. No two stories are the same. So your worldview is so important. So maintain that, and don't... When you go corporate, when you become a creative, regardless, don't lose that point of view. I think that's my biggest advice to young creatives.
Yeah, I think any creative, and it's what the world needs right now, is being unapologetic about who you are as a person. Just be yourself, represent yourself however you want, and don't be afraid to kind of be experimental in your journey, and don't afraid to push boundaries, and listen, take every blow as it comes and just try to get up and move past it. If that makes sense.
I think it's similar. Like, you have to be, like, find your voice in what you're doing, and try to stand out. And you stand out by being your true individual self. If you try to follow trends or try to copy somebody else or try to follow the right way, there are many others who do that. You must stand out. I had another point to this, which I forgot.
The sequel.
That's why, bro. It's okay, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Don't worry about it.
The train has left the station.
But I do want to hear a little bit more about what we can expect from Rice, bro. It's your new adventure that you have started. Yeah. Let's hear a little bit more.
That was my second point. Thank you.
There you go.
Pivot if you have to. Don't get stuck like me over there. But like, if certain things are not working out, then be like, okay, how can I then utilize my skill sets to start something else? And then don't be afraid to pivot. Don't get stuck being like, okay, there are no jobs, the Russians are flooded the market, you know, that there's... Don't be afraid to pivot. And so with Rice, Rice was my pivot, because I was like, okay, like, I'm not doing video right now, photography, there's just a lot happening. How do I be authentic to myself and tell my story? Again, the point comes back. I remember now. There's an Indian director called Meera Nair, who's the mother of Zoran Mamdani, and she said, tell
Mississippi Masala.
Yeah. She said, tell your story, because if you don't tell your story, then nobody else is going to. So with Rice, I was like, how do I champion the diversity that we have in the region, through photography as the medium, but also giving an opportunity to voices that are usually not seen or heard of in the region. So when you think of, let's say you're out of the Middle East, all right? When you think of a Middle Eastern artist, who do you think of? More often than not, you think of an Arab artist, or you think of someone who's from the Khalij region, the GCC. But the truth is, there are so many non-Arabs and non-GCC people that have their roots in the Middle East. This is our home. If I go back to India, they say you're not from here, but over here also, okay, you're not Middle Eastern. So with Rice, I want to redefine who gets to call what the Middle East is. So when you say Rice Middle East, it's like the talents that have their roots in the Middle East, no matter where you're from, and that's what I'm doing with Rice.
That's beautiful, man. Really love what you're trying to do with it, and I wish you all the best with
Thank you.
Your future journey with Rice. If you guys have anything you guys want to announce, this would be nothing new happening.
I'll continue to travel and be a corporate girl.
There you go.
It'll be great.
And we'll continue to watch your stories and be jealous of you.
There you go.
But fair. Thank you guys so much for hopping on. We have 5 minutes if anyone in the audience would like to ask them questions. Yeah? Is it PG? Oh, okay. Check it.
I have it written down, so I'm just going to read it. It's for you, Malaika. I'm someone who used to freelance as well.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm with an agency. But when it comes to the conversation of non-conformity, okay, there's different opinions as to whether you play the game or you conform and stand your ground and fight against it. But if you look at the way content specifically works, it's very trend-focused, and trends are always changing, right? But trends are always set by someone or some brand non-conforming and taking a chance. Now, in your opinion, how would a creative that you bring on board best present an opportunity to be different when agencies / a brand always comes with a set idea and that's all they want, when in reality the people coming up with these ideas are rarely creative and are just looking at things that were done by others but adapting the idea to work for themselves / their client?
Right. I think that depends on the type of agency that you work for, right? Most agencies, like media agencies, and like they that's how they perform. And you're right, and it's very hard to like challenge the status quo there. But I think for it, which is unique to the industry that I work in, is that most people are creatives in the industry that they're working in. So they have a perspective, and then they have something. And when we hire people, or when typically these people hire freelancers, they're mostly just to come in, well, with an idea. That's what the whole point of working with an editorial, from an editorial perspective, is that you're trying to get somebody who has a unique perspective and can add to something that I'm trying to achieve, right? But that's just, again, the nature of the game. I think our goal as creatives, as best as it can be said, is that we have to play the game of conforming to clients and what they want and doing what they need, but we hope to come to a space where we can collaborate and we can create new things. And those spaces are unfortunately fewer and than the many. And so I always try, like, I think it really depends on who's in the room and who's trying to give the opportunity out. And so that's why I said it's really important to try and give opportunities out, try to make it an opportunity for a person of color, and try to get a different perspective in the room. And it really does depend on who's on the other side. And I think now I've started seeing the industry change a little bit more, but when I started out, probably not the same. And so yeah, I think for us it's just a hope that we get to have more and more of these experiences and more people in the room who will maybe challenge the status quo. So it's not a hopeful answer, I guess, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is, I guess.
But I want to add one more thing, if that's okay.
Yeah, that would be the last question.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall, because like we don't have time.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, 'cause
you said something about the attitude of the creatives that you bring on board.
Yeah.
Okay? That is from your perspective, which is the agency side.
Yeah.
To put forth another perspective from the creative side.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and this might not be how GQ or Condé Nast work,
Yeah.
but majority of the agencies in the UAE, the way they work is they get the money from the brands. Okay.
Yeah.
They set aside a small portion,
Yeah.
bring in a freelancer, give them that small portion, and ask them to do the work of 6 people. In which case, creatives in that case will want to stand their ground and say, hey, that's not okay. That's not fair that you're paying me peanuts, but you're asking me to do the work of 6 people.
Yeah.
How does the creative then stand their ground?
I think that's a different perspective. Like that you're very valid in that, and that's very like justified. I think that's not the way that I always petition, or like I will fight to have a full team to come on board and do all of, like, it is really important. This is why I like a room of specialists. Everyone who does, they're very good at what they do, and it's really important. And I think it's I really fight for that. I think what you're talking about is a lot of brands and clients and agencies that they've like given into like capitalism in general, where they're just like, oh, we can hire one person who can become a creative director, an art director, a stylist, a set designer, and like he can also photograph. Oh my god, that's amazing. And like that I think it is important to stand your ground as a creative. And like I think also there's a way to say like, hey, this is my budget, great, but I would also like the budget to hire a specialist who would be great to do like maybe a stylist or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But I do feel for most freelancers. I have been on the freelancer side, so I understand it, and I try and come with when I mean attitude, like come with empathy towards them. But when I mean attitude, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, they're just so easy to work with and they're not standing their ground. It's important to stand your ground. Please stand your ground. I'm not saying that. I think it's important to come with a collaborative attitude. That's what I mean when I say attitude. Come with perspective, come with a friendly, collaborative perspective on how to approach a problem, because that's basically what we do, problem solving in a different way. So that's what I mean when I mean attitude. Yeah.
Dinika asked me to speak on this and give my 2 cents, but that will be another 1 hour. And as the great Jose Mourinho said, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'll be in trouble. But fair. I mean, it's stop exploiting creatives. Yeah. You know, that's all I have to say. There is budget, there's money. Don't be greedy. We all have to live our lives. Like I said, the struggling artist does not have to be a theme. Make your agency commission, whatever. But if you're getting whatever you're getting, give 90% to the creatives that are doing the work for you. You know, not the opposite. That's it.
100%. And I think conversations like these are super important, so we can kind of voice creatives in this region, kind of talk about real issues that we face, which is essentially why we want to curate this conversation with such established individuals like you guys. And thank you guys so much for actually giving your 2 cents and your experiences. And I hope it was valuable for everyone over here, and I hope it's going to be valuable for everyone that's going to be watching it online. And thank you everyone in the audience as well for paying such close attention to people over here. Thank you. Everyone, give a round of applause to yourselves. Yes, sir.
We're printing some shirts inside, very limited edition Karak t-shirts. So make sure to pop by and buy some shirts and support local.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes. And if we sell like 10 t-shirts, Aqib is going to do a TikTok reel. this is exactly what we discussed before. but everyone over here, thank you guys so much. Do stay over. This is the first edition of Beit Al Karak. This is the first time we're throwing an event like this where we bring in 3 collectives together. We have, of course, us, Karak Sounds. We have Basmati. We have Green Room. And the whole idea behind bringing all of these collectives together is to show that in the scene in Dubai, there is space for everyone to kind of focus on their niche itself. For the longest time, at least what I've observed is people are constantly trying to go over and do exactly what other people are doing. But what we're trying to prove with this collaboration is to respect each other's space. And instead of trying to take over, come together, show some love, and do things that people have not done before in Dubai. So thank you guys so much for coming to the first edition of Beit Al Karak.